Okay. So, hi all. This is Mrs. Pavitravanshi, Assistant Professor, Department of Management Studies, SNS College of Technology. So, in this video, we are going to see about the next topic is about the working capital. So, in the previous video, we have seen about the meaning of working capital and what it mean by the current assets and what do you mean by the current liabilities, everything. So, in this video, we are going to see about the working capital management. Yes, so working capital management. So we know what do you mean by the working capital. We have seen the two difference between like the positive working capital as well as the negative working capital. So the positive working capital means like current assets is greater than current liabilities. So if it is said to be in a negative basis and it is called where current assets is less than the current liabilities. So in this case, the next topic is about the working capital management. Yes, so working capital management is actually a tool. So we can tell it as a business tool that helps companies effectively make use of the current assets. So how far the company is make use of the current assets and help the companies to maintain the sufficient flow of cash to meet the short-term goals and obligations. So how far our current assets is actually helpful and how far it is making it possible to maintain a sufficient flow of cash like to meet the short-term goals as well as the short-term obligations. Next, the gross working capital refers to the firm's total investment in current assets. So we have seen the net working capital. Now, the gross working capital is like what? The total investment, the firm's total investments in the current assets. So that is called as the gross working capital. So this is what the gross working capital management and the gross working capital. Now, the next is there are different types of working capital. The first two is like the permanent working capital, and the next is variable working capital. So, in the last previous video, we have seen about the positivity and the negativity of working capital. Now, we are going to see about what is permanent working capital and what do you mean by the variable working capital. Now, let us see what do you mean by the permanent working capital. So it can also be said as fixed working capital. Okay. So a minimum level of current assets which is continuously required by the firm. So wherever a firm is required with a minimum amount of minimum amount of current assets to carry the business operations. Okay. So that is what we can tell it as permanent working capital. So example, coffee shop. So in that coffee shop, the place and the coffee machine will be the permanent working capital for us. So in case of a the coffee shop, we are required with the minimum level of current assets, which is to be continued required by the firm. So for example, in case of coffee shop, we need the place as well as we need the coffee machine. Yes, so that is what the example. So here you can understand what do you mean by the permanent working capital. The second thing is like the variable working capital, which means it can also be called as a fluctuating working capital. It might be an ups and downs in with the respect to the working capital or the assets. So the extra working capital needed to support the changing production and sales activities of the firms. So we know, coming to the example. So we know we if we require to produce something, we need some requirement, we need some ingredients or we need some working capital which needs to be supported for the change. So the extra working capital needs to be supported for the changing production and the sales activities of the firm is called as variable working capital and or can be also as a fluctuating working capital. So the same example which we used for the permanent working capital, the coffee shop will be the example. So in the permanent working capital, the place as well as the the coffee machine is a permanent working capital. So what can be the fluctuating or the variable working capital? So this can be the sugar. Yes, the extra working capital that is to be supported for the production or for the sales activities. So the sugar, the coffee powder, the milk. Yes, so it is all based on the demand which has to be segregated with the respect to the working capital. Yes, so this is what the difference between the permanent working capital and the variable working capital. Yes, so I hope it is in this video we are clear about the working capital management, and the two different types of permanent and variable working capital. We'll see it in the next video. Thank you.